Hello and welcome to our third video of introducing R for our Bio 170 class here at Lawrence University. This is Israel del Toro, and I'll be walking you through a couple of key topics today. First, we're going to talk a little bit about data handling and data layout. We're then going to move on to chatting about what a working directory is, how to load that data, and finally we're going to wrap up on how to load a library and what a library actually is. So, to start off, we're going to go ahead and just start off by making up some data. We're going to make some data here in our regular Excel worksheet. So we see here just a regular open Excel sheet, and we want to have maybe 3 columns to our data set. We'll call one column X, we'll call one column Y, and we'll call one column something categorical like color. Now, here we can just input some random numbers, or non-random numbers in this case. This doesn't matter too much here what we input, just as long as we have something in these fields. Okay. And for color, we'll add a couple of different colors, blue and red. We'll copy and paste these guys all the way down. Great. So now we have our very first data set. It consists of 3 columns, X, Y, and color can be divided into either blue or red. We want to go ahead and start off by saving this as a particular file type that we're going to be using a lot in this course, which is called the CSV file. Okay, and so right now all I'm going to go do is title this test underscore data, and in file format I'm going to go ahead and click CSV. Now there's a few versions of it, but usually just anything that ends with the extension .csv for comma space delimited files. That should work just fine. Next, I'm going to go ahead and pick a place to save this at, and I'm going to go ahead and save it to my Dropbox for now. Click Save, agree to that, and now we can close this file out. And that's as much Excel as you're going to be doing in this class for now. Save that guy, okie doke. Now, right now I've put that CSV file in my Dropbox, but that's not where I want it to live. So I'm going to go to my Dropbox here, and I'm going to drag it to a folder on my desktop called test. So test here is where our working directory is going to be. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my data from test data from my Dropbox right over to my test folder, and there it is. Now, this test folder is going to serve as your working directory. What this means is basically this is where we're telling R to go find our data, also where to output our images or our data analysis, where to save our R scripts and our R markdown files. It's all going to happen inside of this folder. So working directory is just a folder inside of your computer. Close that out for now. And let's go ahead and open up our RStudio window now. And here's what we're going to be doing today. First, I'm going to show you a couple of ways of setting a working directory. Then we're going to load the data that we just created. And finally, we're going to load a library. And we'll talk a little bit about libraries when we get to that part. So let's start off by the simplest way of setting a working directory. And this is one of the first things I like to do when I'm starting a new bit of R code. I go to Session, Set Working Directory, and then navigate to Choose Directory. Again, Session, Set Working Directory, Choose Directory. Once you're here, you'll just navigate to that test file, which is right now sitting on my desktop, and we can click Open. Now what this does is it basically creates a line of code for you that allows us to interpret where that working directory is. And it's also applying a particular function using the setwd function. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy this line of code into my script editor, and now I no longer have to go through Session, set working directory and choose directory every time that I'm running this code. This is particularly useful if you're going to be working on a bit of code on and off on multiple sessions. That way you can always go back to that same place. So right now all we're telling R is we're going to be working on a file on my desktop called test. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and create a data set or load in our data set. Now if we look at our global environment, right now this global environment is empty, which means basically there's nothing there. There's no data, no functions, nothing saved. So that's the first thing we want to make. And to keep things simple, we're just going to call this data set. We're going to use our assigning caret here, which is the less than minus sign, and we're going to use the function read.csv. Now we're going to open up our parentheses and we're going to type in the name of the file that we want to read in, including the extension to it. So since we're in test, we know the name of the test file is test_data, and we're going to close that off with the extension .csv. Now we've gone ahead and read in the data set, but did we succeed? Is it actually working? Well, if we look over here, this is telling us that our global environment now has an object in it called datasets that has 6 observations and 3 variables. If we wanted to look at it, we could do this a couple of ways. We can type in dataset, send that to the console, and indeed here it is. We have X, Y, and the color. We can also cheat a little bit and just click on dataset, and that's going to pop it up as a much more normal looking Excel type spreadsheet where you have X, Y, and then the color. So everything looks like it's been loaded in nicely, and this is our first function, the read CSV function. If we want to learn more about this particular function, we can use the help option that R gives us. Now to get help in R, all we have to do is type a question mark followed by the name of the function that you want help on, or the name of the package you want help on. In this case, read CSV. So question mark read CSV is going to open up a window over here in our output that tells us what read CSV does for us. This reads in a file table format and creates a data frame from it, which with cases corresponding to lines and variables to fields in that particular line. There's also alternative forms of read CSV like read.table, read.csv2, and here are all the different arguments that can go into this particular function. But we kept things simple today, and that's a good place to start. The last thing we want to do, excuse me, is load in a library. And so today I wanted to introduce you to a very quick and easy library that we're going to be working with called ggplot2. ggplot2. The first thing you want to do when working with a library is you want to make sure that this library has been installed into your R environment. I don't know why that closed on me, so it's okay. That's fine. So to install a library, all we want to do is navigate over here to our packages or our help window, select packages, and then look for ggplot2. If you do not see it on this list of packages, then you haven't downloaded it yet. To download it, you're going to click install, then type in the name of the package you want to install, ggplot2 in this case, and hit install. What this is doing now, it's tying into one of those mirrors, one of those copies of R that live in one of these different mirror stations, and it's downloading all of the information that you need in this package. So you might be asking at this point, well, what is a package and why is he rambling on about them? Well, packages are really cool because they allow us to access a different set of functions. So all the packages is a compiled set of functions. ggplot allows us to access functions that are needed for graphing, for example. So there we have it. ggplot has now been downloaded, and if we look closely, let's take a look and see if that guy has come up now. Is it here? Am I missing it? Nope, there it is. So if we wanted to load the library, two ways of doing this. We can simply click, and now you'll see this line of code called library ggplot2 has been loaded, and now we have access to all of the functions that live inside of ggplot2. If we want to do this through coding, we can use either library ggplot2, that'll access the same functions, or require ggplot2. This will also allow us to access the functions. So there you have it. In this video, we've covered working directories, loading data sets, and loading in a library. I hope this is helpful, and we'll go ahead and stop there and meet up next time.